Hello to all my friends in the Italian Parliament. It's so nice to be with you here today on this very important occasion. I'd like to congratulate all of you for beginning an historic process here to prepare a bill and legislation that will transition Italy into a green, smart, third industrial revolution economy in the coming decades of the 21st century, and again, lead Europe. Let me start with context, if I may. It is clear that GDP has been growing at a slower rate all over the world for quite a bit of time now, a couple of decades. And the reason this is happening is productivity has been declining as well over the last several decades in every region of the world. The result is we've got a lot of high unemployment. I don't have to tell you that in Italy, but it's all over the world. And our younger millennial generation is finding a difficult time finding a place in a 21st century workforce. Our economists are projecting 20 more years of slow productivity and slow growth. It's clear that the great industrial revolution of the 20th century is in decline. But now we have a equally impressive crisis, real-time climate change. After two industrial revolutions in the 19th and 20th century, we have spewed massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere of this planet to maintain this industrial way of life. Now we are in real-time climate change, and we are being told by our scientists that we are now in the sixth extinction event of life on Earth. This is a turning point, a critical moment for humanity. We need to begin to step back and ask, how do we create a new economic vision for the world that's compelling, and a game plan to deploy that vision that's quick so that the human race can begin to rearrange its economic priorities here on this planet. There have been at least 7 major economic paradigm shifts in history. They're very interesting from an anthropological point of view. They all share a common denominator, and that is, at a moment of time, 3 defining technologies will emerge across a civilization and converge to create what we call in engineering a general purpose technology platform, an infrastructure that fundamentally changes the way a society manages, powers, and moves its economic activity, its social activity, and its governance. What are those 3 technologies? Number 1, new communication technologies to more efficiently manage our economic activity and social life and governance, and that's pretty obvious. Number 2, new sources of energy to more efficiently power our economy, our society, and our form of governance. And number 3, new modes of mobility and logistics to more efficiently move our economic activity, our social life, and governance. So when communication technology revolutions converge with new sources of energy and new modes of mobility and logistics, it completely changes the way we manage our economy, it changes our business models, it changes our governance patterns, it changes our worldviews, it changes our temporal spatial orientation. I'm going to give you 2 quick examples that provide context for this important legislation that you are beginning to prepare. The first industrial revolution in the 19th century in Britain, the second industrial revolution in the 20th century in the United States. The Brits take us into a new convergence of communication, energy, and mobility. They invent steam power printing, no more manual print presses. This was a big leap forward in communication. We now can mass produce print for school books, for public school systems, and for magazines and newspapers and all sorts of other things. Then the Brits laid out a telegraph system in the last half of that 19th century, and steam power printing and the telegraph, those communication technologies, converged with a new source of energy in Britain, and that was coal, again harvested by that same steam engine. Then they put the steam engine on rails for locomotives, national transport, that gave rise to urban industrial life and the industrial age. It changed the whole way we live, work, and govern ourselves. Second industrial revolution in the United States, another convergence of communication, energy, mobility, and the built environment. The telephone. The telephone was revolutionary for those times. All of a sudden, the human race connecting with each other virtually over a device very cheaply, and they were able to communicate thousands of miles away from each other. Later, radio and television. In the United States, this communication revolution of the 20th century, which gave rise to the second industrial revolution, converged with a new source of energy, cheap Texas oil. And then Henry Ford put everyone on the road with internal combustion vehicles. And the 20th century, we moved from urban to suburban life and shopping malls and travel and tourism and all of the rest. That 20th century second industrial revolution has peaked, not just in the US, but in Italy and Germany and Japan, all over the world. And that's why productivity has been declining. Now, let me share an anecdote. When Chancellor Merkel became Chancellor of Germany, she asked me to come to Berlin in the first few weeks of her government to help her address the question of how to grow the German economy. And here's what I said to the Chancellor. I said, Madam Chancellor, how do you grow the German economy when your businesses are plugged into a second industrial revolution infrastructure of centralized telecommunication, fossil fuel nuclear power, internal combustion transportation to manage power and move your society, and that infrastructure peaked in its productivity in every industrial country in the world over the last 2 decades. So I said you can have market reforms and you can have fiscal reforms and you can have monetary reforms and you can even stimulate a lot of new businesses, but if they're plugged into that old infrastructure of centralized telecommunication, fossil fuel nuclear power, internal combustion transportation, you can't get any more productivity out of the platform, and you stall your new business opportunities and especially new employment opportunities. So what I made clear to the Chancellor is this. We are on the cusp of a third industrial revolution, a new convergence of communication, energy, and mobility to manage power and move society. And it's that third industrial revolution that we now need to move aggressively in to get to a zero-emission, post-carbon, sustainable economy that can provide the new businesses and the new jobs of the 21st century. What you're doing here in Italy today, in this parliament, is historic. Because as you have done in the past, Italy will help lead this revolution. And here's what the third industrial revolution is all about. It is a new convergence of communication, energy, and mobility to manage power and move Italy. The internet is a digital communication revolution. Everybody in Italy is connected. Everyone has their smartphones. Everybody's on the web. Now this digitalized communication revolution, the World Wide Web, is now converging in Italy, just beginning, with a digitalized renewable energy internet. We now have across Italy pockets of places where people are producing their own solar and wind electricity, and what they're not using, they're sending back to an increasingly digitalized utility grid, a renewable energy internet, so it can be shared, that solar and wind electricity, across Italy and across your borders. Now these two internets, the communication internet, digital, the renewable energy internet, digital, are converging with a third internet, a digital mobility and logistics internet made up of electric and fuel cell vehicles powered by solar and wind energy from the digital energy internet. And within a few years, those vehicles will be autonomous, no drivers, road, rail, water, and eventually air. These three internets ride on top of a platform called the Internet of Things. We're placing sensors in Italy and across the world, across our built environment, in order to create smart homes, smart warehouses, smart vehicles, smart flows of stocks and services, so that we can operate more efficiently, more productively, and use that data to help all of our businesses create new business opportunities and especially new jobs. This third industrial revolution is going to require every industry in Italy's involvement. We're going to need telecom, ICT, the electric utilities, transport and logistics, advanced fabrication manufacturing, real estate sector, the agricultural sector, the life sciences. All of these industries will be involved in this great infrastructure transition to a 21st century economy based on the digital connectivity of communication, energy, mobility, the Internet of Things environment. And it is this infrastructure that not only increases our efficiency, but dramatically reduces our carbon footprint and helps us move quickly to address climate change. Because in the 21st century, the energy that will move Italy and Europe and the world is solar and wind. And that solar and wind produces no carbon imprint. And that solar and wind energy is free. Once we pay the fixed cost of installing this across Italy, solar and wind, the marginal cost of powering your businesses and society will be free because the sun has not sent us a bill yet, and the wind has not invoiced us. So the bottom line is this. There's an opportunity here to create a completely new, smart, third industrial revolution, post-modern infrastructure across all of Italy and provide massive amounts of jobs. We are going to need semi-skilled, skilled, and professional jobs across Italy to retrofit all your buildings so they can be energy efficient. Robots and AI won't do that. We're going to need massive amounts of jobs to lay down underground 5G cable so that we can have a streamlined data and communication technology revolution. Robots and AI won't do that. Human beings have to lay down that underground cable. We will need lots of human beings in Italy, semi-skilled, skilled, and professional, to install wind turbines and put solar panels on the roofs. AI and robots don't do any of that work. And we will need a huge amount of employment to put in charging stations and advanced IoT technology in the buildings. So there's an opportunity here. And all of Italy can be engaged. You know, I've often remarked when I'm in Italy that southern Italy alone, from Rome all the way to the tip of the south, is the Saudi Arabia of solar and wind. There is so much solar and wind from Rome south to the border that you could power all of Italy and send that power and electricity to the rest of Europe. So, and then this is tends to be the region that has the highest unemployment and the highest poverty rate. So the bill that you're putting together and this legislation, and I congratulate you, it's crossing all the political party lines. You're bringing everyone together with this. This legislation is going to allow Italy to once again take the lead in Europe and be first in show, to be able to transform a society, provide the new jobs and new business opportunities, and address climate change. And for a younger generation, provide the opportunities to create a better way of life for them and their children. I congratulate you. I wish you the best. And thank you very much for allowing me to share a few minutes with you today.